So many of you might know me also as a designer and founder of Narciss, ready-to-wear brand from Latvia. But the last 5 years I have been based in New York, and dreams have taken the centerpiece of my life. And today I will talk briefly about emerging designers that we represent in New York within Dreams platform, and how COVID has affected emerging designers in particular, and what has happened to Dreams in New York. So let me share the presentation so it's easier to follow. Okay. So for those who, I hope the presentation is up and running. Yeah, okay. So for those who have no idea what Dreams is, let me briefly give a intro. So we are a membership-based retail PR and consulting platform, and we are based in New York, in prime location in Soho. And before COVID, we represented nearly 80 emerging designers from almost 30 different countries. And let me start my presentation actually with asking a question. What do you think that these brands have in common? Disney, Microsoft, and Instagram. And since the format of today is via Zoom, let me also answer the question I asked. So these three companies were all born out of recessions, and all of them have found ways to reinvent their businesses over the time. And Disney has been successful in doing this for nearly 90 years, Microsoft for 45 years, and Instagram was born out of the crisis in 2008. And that's actually just one of the examples that shows that we can look at any recession or any crisis from different angles, as a window for opportunity, as well as a big disaster and a big issue or the even end for the business. And going to the second question, what do these brands have in common, like Neiman Marcus, J. Crew, and Hertz? They all filed for bankruptcy during the 2020 recession, and which just shows that the companies, big or small, established or just startups, they can try to stay the same and get chewed up, or they can go and reinvent themselves and have it not only chance to survive but even flourish. So again, so let me tell you in 2 sentences about Dreams and how we work with emerging designers to share the input and experience during the COVID. So as I said, we are located in prime Soho. We provide designers, emerging designers, with a prime location to be sold next to the luxury designers like Chanel, Balmain, Tiffany. So these are all our neighbors in Soho in New York. And apart from the concept store, we also have a PR showroom, so where we provide brands with a PR representation. So we work with social media influencers, we work with traditional press. We are probably the most affordable PR showroom in New York, and designers have a chance to sell in a curated concept store while also receiving the PR showroom services. So that's our selling point, and that's what differentiates us from any other retailer in New York, and that's what makes us attractive for emerging designers. So what has happened to what we have seen since COVID started in New York? So obviously there are certain aspects that have been the same and as all over the world, and many of them have been discussed already by other speakers in the conference. So I will not go into the details, but some are very New York specific, and some are specific to emerging designers or have affected emerging designers more. So obviously in New York, since mid of March, all non-essential retailers have to close their doors, and Dreams hasn't been an exception. We have been closed since March 15, and this week has been the phase 1 opening in New York. So that's the first week when actually we are open, but with a very limited capacity. So it means that it's only open for pickups, so basically whatever has been ordered via online or through orders, like one-to-one orders, working together with a stylist and sales associates via FaceTime or WhatsApp. That's the only capacity we are working at. And Dreems, as well as other brick and mortar retailers, of course, have basically no sales from brick and mortar for almost 3 months in the US, and online sales for fashion also have been down in the US in general, 30 to 40%, and for Dreems actually as well, especially in categories like shoes and the bottoms. So we see that the tops, some dresses are still actually selling, but actually some of the categories have been really suffering. So drop in sales is a result, of course, of a decrease in discretionary income. It's the mental state of, being at home, being insecure about the future, and also with all the macro environment that US currently goes through, like nearly 40 million people seeking jobless benefits, and since COVID started. But also it's due to the change in consumer habits, and we can see that consumers have been less inclined to consume fashion goods in general during COVID in the US, and however they have reached beyond consuming the essentials and basics like groceries and household, and there are now instead consuming self-improvement items. Also, another aspect which we have to mention, which has affected Dreems in particular, our retail, as well as many other retailers in the US, and especially in New York, LA, and is the consumers, the consumers that were purchasing and visiting the stores within their travels, within their trips, as a shopping experience, as their traveling experience. And especially luxury retailers from China that made a big, quite significant portion of our customers in New York. And in general, they're like 1/3 of the luxury goods they have consumed 1/3 of luxury goods market in 2018. So this, of course, is a very significant loss for any luxury retailer, and also including us within Dreems. Talking about the disruption in fashion supply chain, obviously, the old way of doing things, basically seasonally manufacturing items abroad without any advance customer feedback, and then months later hoping that these items will sell, is currently, it doesn't work. And we have talked, like other speakers talked about that before, and I will not go into the details so much, but what we have seen is basically disruption covers 3 seasons. It's not only the spring, summer that we're living now, but especially in New York, since stores have been closed since mid-March, we see like spring, summer 2020 unsold stock. So the stores closed basically when the new collections just started to come in. So they're already now, when they're reopening most of the stores, if not all the stores, will be on sale, right? So fall winter 2020, they're having involved wholesale orders for many of our emerging designers, and they rely heavily on these orders to produce the next collections. So they don't have the financial pillow other than the orders they receive, and that's how they mostly finance their operations. And also it's spring summer 2021 is under the question, because in New York the restrictions were quite significant, and so we're in many other countries that our designers are from, and studios have been closed. The deliveries of the fabrics have been restricted, so not all the designers will be even able to produce spring summer 2021. And lastly, of course, what has been talked a lot today, and I will not go into the details about that, it's the fashion calendar, which has been outdated for a while, and it's actually now, I think it's, the fashion calendar has to change, and seasonality is very questionable. But we talked about this a lot today, and for emerging designers, I think that we have seen already that at Dreems for a few seasons that more and more designers actually have taken the route of creating capsule collections, creating seasonless collections. And we think that these quick drops, short leads, local production will be the way to go, especially for the emerging designers. So what about Dreems since COVID? So we have lost nearly 80% of our clients. And I must say that this is partly due to what I mentioned and what I touched briefly before, that emerging designers are actually the category of the designers that lack any financial pillowing. So once the distribution chain has been disrupted, it's very hard for them to sustain their operations. So they're not like the mother company, they're independent brands. So some of the brands have closed, or they have paused their operations, or they have paused their membership with Dreems. But the other thing is that we have also seen that that there are brands who have closed their business in general. And it might sound very harsh what I'm gonna say, but there has been an oversupply of designers, and not all of them actually have a unique selling point. Not all of them are competitive. And Dreems is all about supporting emerging designers, all about supporting talent, but we have more than 20,000 designers on our mailing list, more than 20,000 emerging designers. And but we have seen recently, because we encounter communication, and we encounter presentations sent in, we see presentations sent in by emerging designers on a daily basis. Yes, not all of the collections are competitive enough to be put out there. And so therefore, it's a kind of like a filter what we see for, COVID-19 acting as. And it might be very harsh, but I think that, the most talented designers, the designers who have authentic story, the designers that have a viable price product, right price product positioning, that designers who have relevant story today, they will survive and they will flourish, and the designers who don't have that, they will go away, and it would be sooner or later, and COVID has acted as a trigger. So as I said, so Dreems have been operating with all the restrictions for the last 3 months, and instead of just closing the doors, laying off the employees, and putting everything on hold, we have been reinventing. We have been reinventing our retail. We have been reinventing our public relations, and actually, I hope that the world, we don't go back to that old normal, and I hope that there will be a new normal. And I'm very excited, although it's a very challenging time, but it's very exciting what it comes with. And we have tried different things. We are a startup, we are a young company, we are a lean company, and I think it has been quite exciting to see what works, what doesn't work. And for retail, even with a closed store, we still managed to do like weekly live streamings to Asian clients. We managed to use our work to have our staff, stylists, and retail associates to work from home, or going once a week to the store and doing like one-to-one personalized shopping tours, our FaceTime and WhatsApp. From public relations perspective, we set up micro showrooms across New York in the apartments of our employees. We managed to ship the PR samples to the bloggers and stylists who created the content from home. We did the press days via Zoom, and did it in a very entertaining and fun way by providing press with the croissants and coffee, and while doing the tour via Zoom and guiding them through the new collections of emerging designers. So there are many things that you can still do. And initially it was like, of course, as a shock for everybody, like, like in New York, and our team also, was kind of scared and questioning the way we can operate, but it actually has been a very, very exciting time for us, and try different things and see what works. And I think some of the things will stay with us after COVID, of course. So let me actually, before I end the presentation, let me summarize what we see as the aspects that will stay in the fashion industry after COVID, definitely it's the wholesale and the way wholesale is being done, and wholesale has been also one of the services that Dreems has been provided to emerging designers. We have a Paris showroom twice a year, and it has been discussed already during this conference that the whole chain of distribution is changing, and especially if you look at New York, obviously the most desirable stockists like Barney's, like Opening Ceremony, like Jeffries. Barney's was already closing before COVID, and Opening Ceremony as well, and Jeffries is now closing. And Bird of Goodman, let's see, whether they go under restructuring or not. But so who are these stockists that emerging designers can be placed in New York, right? And therefore, with that, of course, the way to go direct to consumer becomes more and more appealing. And again, will emerging designers be able to set up their own stores? I don't think so. But e-commerce and a digital way to distribute the collections will be the route to go. And therefore, that would be the area emerging designers should invest and should look into and focus their energy. And in general, of course, the digitized formats are, digital technology is showing a lot of promise in terms of fashion shows and presentations of new collections. And it's also showing a lot of potential in terms of showrooms for PR, like in the case we just discussed for Dreems PR, as well as showrooms for fashion markets and buying. And like Greta said, like, yes, there is an issue of like, how can you buy via online appointments if you don't see the fabrics, if you don't see the cuts? But well, we will see. The time will show whether that is viable or not. But on the other hand, like going 6 times a year to, or going to the numerous fashion shows, or during this hectic calendar when the fashion week starts, it's also not viable anymore. And we see that there is a fatigue among buyers, and the question of how efficient are these showrooms, how efficient are these presentations, as just Roland's just said, right? So you spend tons of money as emerging designer, you go to Paris, what are the orders, what are the returns on investments? And we have seen decline in the returns on investments over the last 8 years, and for sure. And I have been going to Paris for my last 8 to 10 years, and I have seen every season becoming more and more challenging. So yeah, and lastly, as I said, what we think will stay is definitely that there will be like less seasonality or no seasonality at all. There will be regular drops, quick drops by the designers to satisfy the the demand from the customers to see new collections, to see relevant items as per seasons and the weather, in particular geographic markets. We believe we will see more local production as well, and all these aspects lead to more sustainable industry. So that's what we hope for. And finally, let me just conclude the presentation with this number, and this is 60,400 is the weekly average of new business applications in USA, counting from the end of March to the beginning of May 2020. So despite everything, despite COVID, non-essential businesses being closed for 3 months in New York and most of the states across the US, despite of all the turbulence that New York and other states have been going through for the last week. And by the way, Dreems has been like one of the 3 stores on our blog that hasn't been looted, and this very, very challenging environment we operate now. Despite all that, we see that, there is still, people are undoubtedly still being innovative, creative, entrepreneurial, and these companies could be the new Disneys, Microsofts and Instagrams of the world, and they are born in a time of change or reinvention, and they know, just like we know, that there is no going back to normal, the only way is forward.